Conspiracy theorist and Infowars host Alex Jones has made it clear that he is done with Donald Trump and he is indeed going to be backing Ron DeSantis if the Florida governor decides to run for president in 2024. Now, as much as I'd like to say, who cares what Alex Jones says, who cares what he thinks, the guy's a nutcase after all, we can dismiss him, this actually is pretty significant because if he's able to turn his loyal viewers and listeners from being Trump supporters and make them Ron DeSantis voters, well, that could make the difference in a potential contested primary between the two candidates. Let's take a look at what Jones had to say on his Infowars program earlier this week.
Pig-headedly support him a few years ago, even though I disagreed with his warp speed, because I thought that we had to keep him in office because of the nightmare scenario if Hillary or Biden got in, back before they were officially running. But that said, I am supporting DeSantis. DeSantis is just gone from being awesome to being unbelievably good. And I don't just watch a man's actions, as Christ said, judge a tree by its fruits. I can also look in his eyes on HD video, and I see the real sincerity. This is what Trump should be like. And I've been hammering this point, and he's doing it now. And we have someone that is better than Trump. Way better than Trump.
Now, at least in this clip, Alex Jones didn't articulate why exactly he likes Ron DeSantis more than Donald Trump. I'd imagine it has somewhat to do with the right-wing culture war issues that DeSantis has been championing over the past couple of years. Everything from making these decrees against socialism to passing his Don't Say Gay bill to the anti-trans rhetoric to saying that, oh, well, the left supposedly wants to defund the police, but here in Florida, we're funding the police. But the real sticking point for Jones seems to be the vaccine issue, the fact that Donald Trump is not an outright anti-vaxxer, at least as it pertains to the COVID vaccine, and that's really just because he wants to take credit for it, credit for Operation Warp Speed. And Jones predicted, of course, that the vaccine would do all these terrible things, but then you look back and after billions of doses have been administered, everyone's doing just fine, so maybe he's moved the goalposts on that. Just as a reminder, here's a clip from back in December when Alex Jones did a special emergency Christmas Day edition of his show to declare that Trump is ignorant or evil because of his stance on the COVID vaccines.
This is an emergency Christmas Day warning to President Trump. You are either completely ignorant about the so-called vaccine gene therapy that you helped ram through with Operation Warp Speed, or you're one of the most evil men who has ever lived to push this toxic poison on the public and to attack your constituents when they simply try to save their lives and the lives of others. We're about to lay out the basic, incontrovertible facts that what you told Candace Owens just a few days ago is nothing but a raft of dirty lies.
Now, maybe it's illogical for me to try to get inside the head of Alex Jones and understand why exactly he's making this pivot, and who knows if Jones even believes half the things that he says, right? So maybe he doesn't even care one way or another between Trump or DeSantis, but it is a little bit strange, right? Because when Jones decided to hitch his wagon to Trump back in 2016, it at least made a little bit of sense because Trump at the time was painting himself as an anti-establishment figure. He was going to be an outsider who would shake things up in Washington and drain the swamp, as he liked to say. Ron DeSantis, though, on the other hand, he's pretty much just a standard Republican. Like, he knows how to play the culture war games better than the average Republican politician, and he's clearly learned a thing or two from Trump about how to deal with the media and how to present himself, but at the end of the day, he's a pretty establishment guy, which Jones has really never been into. So it's all very weird, and I do think it actually could be relevant to a potential matchup between the two figures. So we'll have to see if maybe Ron DeSantis ever decides to appear on Alex Jones's show like Donald Trump did back in 2016. Maybe he won't because DeSantis may realize that Jones is a little bit too toxic right now to associate with. But that's the latest. Alex Jones done with Donald Trump and moving over to Ron DeSantis.
The David Pakman Show's longest-running sponsor is Blinkist, the app that takes thousands of nonfiction books, boils each of them down into an explainer you can read or listen to in 15 minutes. Blinkist also condenses episodes of popular podcasts into 15-minute explainers. I've been using Blinkist for years to supplement the books I read. I love reading. I read all the time. But there's even more books I don't have time to read. And you can often find those nonfiction books on Blinkist and consume the entire thing in 15 minutes. My favorite new feature on the app is Blinkist Connect, which lets you share your Blinkist premium account with someone else. You basically get 2 accounts for the price of one, and then you can also share Blinkist books and podcasts between users. I have a joint Blinkist premium account with my girlfriend. Blinkist Connect lets us sync together what books and podcasts we're listening to on Blinkist, sparks many interesting discussions. We just listened to Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, the new version. Robert Greene, super interesting writer. Find his books fascinating. You can try Blinkist free for 7 days and get 25% off a premium subscription at Blinkist.com/David Pakman. The link is down below.